Okay.
Right.
How's everything going?
Good, good. So far, so good. We got plenty of knowledge. It's been an unbelievable, tough act to follow, both of them, Coach. But I'm sure, you know. So we got the participants flooding in now as we speak. Again, would like to welcome you all to the third session. I know the flow offense has been very popular, especially the Australian national team runs it, and we played against the flow offense, and so it's a bit similar to what Coach Ryan. There's some similarities with Coach Ryan's offense, but we'll see how Coach Aaron flows it in his flow offense and how different it is. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce my co-host for tonight. Of course, Doc Teddy, sports psychologist. He'll be on the panel. Teddy, say hi.
Good evening, Coach Ariel. Good evening, Coach Aaron.
Good evening. How you doing?
Good,
Good, Coach.
Yeah, I would like to introduce Coach Aaron. He was 9 years head coach at the Cains. And now he's an assistant coach with the Charlotte 49ers. He was NBL Coach of the Year in 2017. And he's very well known to be the proponent of the flow offense. And I'd like to give you the floor, Coach Aaron. Good morning to you and good evening here in the Philippines.
Yes. Yeah, well, first of all, I would definitely thank everybody for joining in and signing up. It's obviously a unusual time around the world right now with the COVID virus flying around. It's definitely changed the way the world operates. But as basketball coaches, we always want to upskill and improve our knowledge. And you know, these people that are putting all these clinics on around the world, it's a credit to them to organize it. And I hope everybody out there is staying safe and healthy. And we're into week 5 of our lockdown here in Charlotte. I have not seen the other coaches for 5 weeks in person. We've just obviously been doing coaching meetings and so on and so forth online. But let's get stuck into this flow. I ran flow in Australia for a long time. And with the junior programs as well, we implemented a system from our under 12s all the way up through to our under 18 junior programs, and then into our semi-pro team, and then into our pro team, the Cains Taipans. And so we tried to build a real good understanding for our entire club to understand how to run this offense. So I'm going to break into the segments. I'm going to start with just the early transition stuff that we looked at. So I'll share my screen here.
There you go.
Let's get rid of that. So can everybody see that?
Yes, we can see. We can see the video.
Let's see it, Coach.
So everyone's good with that? Yep.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we used to like to run step-up screens, drag screens, find the post early, a step-up screen into a drag screen. We were very into the defensive end of the floor. I expected a lot from our guys defensively, and I always felt that it was an opportunity for them to get out and transition, express themselves, and have some fun with it and some freedom. So here are some concepts that we looked at, just an early transition. First one here is a step-up on-ball screen, obviously in the backcourt, obviously very very common action in the international game. Another step-up screen here. So whenever we would set the step-up screen here, the opposite big, who was here, would always dive and put pressure on the front of the rim. As you can see here on this action, which he ends up getting the ball. Another step-up screen around half court and get penetration. So the guard does a very good job here. And that action there is very difficult to defend. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's junior basketball, senior basketball. Here in the US, we run a lot of this action here with the Charlotte 49ers program. And a lot of programs here in college basketball don't run a lot of step-up screens. We've found it very difficult for teams to defend because, you get this penetration. I mean, simply the guard getting 2 feet in the paint. Look at all 5 defenders there in the paint. We've obviously got fantastic spacing on the perimeter. And we generate a really good shot just off a simple step-up screen and transition. Here's an example of a step-up screen. So the step-up screen happens here.
Is the video working on your end? It's not playing here.
It's not playing your end?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is operating my end.
All right, probably refresh, Coach, please. Close and open it again.
Yep. Is it operating your end now?
It's paused.
Is it a little jumpy?
It's frozen.
It's frozen. It's not. It's stopped on the ball screen.
Let me see if I can.
Okay.
Instead of trying to run it through.
Probably on QuickTime.
Yeah, I might try and do it on a QuickTime movie here.
Yeah.
So does that work your end?
Not yet. Not yet. Click on the.
I might share.
Yeah, share and then click on the QuickTime button. There you go. There you go. Much better, Coach.
So is that?
There.
Can you
There. Yep. Yep.
your end?
Working.
Okay.
Working. Perfect.
Beautiful.
All right.
So we'll repeat a little bit. Here's some step-up screens in transition. Obviously, action that all around the world is very difficult to defend.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess just trying to rewind and play here on QuickTime be a little bit different, but just example I showed before, just coming off that step-up screen and transition, and the guard being able to get our point guard being able to get into the lane like this with all 5 defenders in the lane. That's exactly what you want to generate in transition. It's not ideal just to come down and pull up and shoot a 3. It's always great to get penetration to see if you can get a layup to start with, and if that's not there, then obviously the kick out action, which generates, we've got some good ball movement here with long closeouts being created, which opens up a very good shot. Here's an example of a step-up screen into a drag screen. All right, so as I spoke earlier, we look to operate in transition in these ways: step-up screens, drag screens, step-up screen into a drag screen, or finding the post early. So a good example here of being able to explore off the step-up screen, which happens there. That's not there, so we we don't have to throw this pass back. The guard here could simply keep the ball and just work off this drag screen. So this drag screen set in an outstanding spot right here, foul line extended, and we've got very good spacing on the weak side, which as I get into this, you'll see how we'll get into flow from here. But a good example here of the drag screen, which generates a shot there. Here's another example of a good step-up screen right there. Very good step-up screen, creates a lot of space for the point guard. And we work back into a drag screen. Now, I guess my terminology is I would explain this to my guys that this is a balanced floor layout with a guard and a guard on each corner. I call that balanced floor. If this guard was not here and he was on this side like the clip before, where we had a guard here and a guard here and then the trail big, that's my loaded floor. So we can operate off a step-up screen and a drag screen off a loaded or balanced floor. But I'll just play that at game speed. And you can just imagine how difficult this is for this defender here to defend this action here. He's got to operate, he's got to negotiate that step up and then straight back into a drag screen, and puts a lot of pressure on the big guy as well at the same time to be able to deal with that. So here we are, just an example of a simple drag screen. Now, as I spoke earlier about the balanced floor and the loaded floor, this is an example of a loaded floor for me, where we've got the lead post, the trail post, and the two guards on the opposite side of the floor, and they're loaded up on that side of the floor. And this just off a simple drag screen. Which obviously just generates good pace and transition. Here we are with another example of a drag screen off a loaded floor. You know, he rejects the on-ball screen and puts good pressure on the floor with the shooters loaded up. So everything can transition to try and get penetration into the paint. And obviously guys have to run the floor and really space it. But, you know, if this defender here had really come across and taken it away, well, then these guys here are spotted up for that kick out like we had earlier in the transition. I mean, we know the games can be fast and exciting, and that's what we want for the fans. You know, we are in the entertainment business as much as, you know, as we say we're not. We just want to coach the game. But we do need to provide some entertainment. I think in transition, it allows you to do that with these step-up screens and good pace. So again, here's another example of a good drag screen. So you can see our point guard here, Scoochie Smith, did a really good job of basically drawing three defenders here. And these guys, again, are well spaced. As we all know, that's probably not great defense, been hanging out there on the weak side. But, you know, look at the shot that he creates. In any type of penetration, you want to try and create long closeouts. And that's how I always try and explain it to our players, is move the ball to create long closeouts. So this guy here had to go close out from here to the ball, which generates a long closeout. It gives this shooter here an opportunity to, this play here, an opportunity to shoot the ball or read the closeout. Obviously, it's a hard closeout. He's able to go by him and get on the rim. So just watching that clip with good pace without me stopping it all the time. And it works off this drag screen, get penetration, draw the defense, creates a long closeout, attacks that closeout, and gets on the rim. Now, just some reads here on what do you do if the defense defends on balls different ways. So here's a drag screen against a hard show on the on ball screen. So the defender here on the on ball big, he hard shows, draws two defenders, and that's what you want the ball handler to create Finds the rollout man. All right, we've taken 2 guys out of the play. Now it's 4-on-3. All right, so we create so excellent passing decision here. Get rid of the ball quickly. Get the ball out of your hands quickly. Don't hang on to the ball off the on-ball screen. Draw those 2 defenders, and then he had 2 decisions here. He could have passed here or passed here. He makes a good quick decision out. Again, defenses in rotation generates an open shot. Here it is again on a hard show. Hits the roll. All right. And our rule was if we did hit that roll man, all right, especially if it's a non-shooter here, which it is here with Nana Igwu, he would put pressure on the front of the rim, which he does a good job of here. We find him, excellent kick out opposite. All right, again, so coming off those on-ball screens, again, hard show on the on-ball screen, quickly get rid of the ball. Again, turn it into a 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 offensive players against these 3. Something's going to generate if the ball's moved quickly. So it's moved quickly here, creates a wide open shot. Okay, what do we do when teams switch on drag screens or any on-ball screen? The way I used to teach it was to try and seal off that defender. So you can see this offensive player here comes into this on-ball screen here and does a really good job of sealing that defender off. And basically it was like a block out and seals him to the front of the rim. We don't quite see him right away, but we eventually do. And we're able to find him on the front of the rim. So again, a way just to punish, you know, a lot of coaches' philosophies these days is to switch a lot of on-ball screens and do a really good job against the switch of screening on the bottom hip, seal that defender off, and ride him to the front of the rim, which Alex Loughton does a very good job of here and rewards himself with a point-blank layup, so against the switch. All right, so here against the flow, and we come down and transition off the drag screen, you know, teams systematically here have decided, well, in this game here, we're going to trap the on-ball screen and we're going to deny the reversal. And a lot of coaches defensively will look to try and be disruptive with denying the reversal. So we had to educate our guys that when teams really hard showed the on-ball and denied the reversal, we would flash this opposite wing into the free throw line area to be a pressure release, which we do here, and we find him. Obviously, with the double team happening out here and the denial here, it now turns into a 3-on-2. Obviously, that's what we want to create when we're playing this game and coaching this game. We want to create advantages. So I coached this team for a number of years with the same guys, so they're able to pick up things very quickly, but a lot of teams in Australia became very disruptive and trying to slow us down on what we run. This was one way of doing it. Was trapping the on-ball screen and then denying the reversal. So you educate your players to flash through the foul line on the opposite side and be an outlet and then turn into a 3-on-2, which creates some good stuff for us here. Okay, another example here of defending on-ball screen and transition is teams that like to down it or ice it. But in essence, pushing the offensive player off the on-ball screen and not allow him to use it. So we used to call this action like throw and go action. We didn't want teams to stop us running what we wanted to run. So you can see here as Scoochie Smith comes down on offense, they're not allowing him to come off this on-ball screen. So we would create some spacing and we would throw it to the big that was going to set the screen. And then we'd operate straight back into a dribble handoff. Again, it just allowed us to run our stuff. So I'll play that at game speed. come down on offense. They're looking to take that away and down us. We throw it back, throw and go. It allows us to get back into our action. So coaches out there, again, that face teams that look to ice or down on-ball screens, something to have to experiment with is this throw and go action, like separate from the ice, dribble down. I'll just walk through it again because this has been very successful action for us when we ran it. So at the point there, you know you can't come off the on-ball screen. So separate, create good spacing here, and drag that big guy that's, you know, in that downing position, throw it back to the big, he recovers, and now you're back into a dribble handoff. You can't down a dribble handoff. So became very good action for us. It allowed us just to continue to run our stuff when teams tried to be disruptive with it. So just a couple little different little things out of transition stuff. We'd run a double drag. These were generally discussed in dead ball situations that we'd look to run a double drag. So this is our 5-man. This is our shooting 4-man. Again, just a little quick hitter off the double drag. And then you can see the 5-man flare our 4-man for a shot. Again, just another look in transition for a quick shot. And then like anything, as coaches, we want to teach our players to run the floor hard, put pressure on the rim. Here we are in transition. We're out in transition. We want to put pressure on the rim. We do got an early post feed, easy bucket. All right. Here we are again. You can see our 5-man running the floor. All right. We have a great passing decision here. We see that the defender is fronting the 5-man on the front of the rim. All right, so this pass here is not available. So make a quick decision. Great spacing again here on the weak side. Pass the ball to the high trail big, and then go high-low, easy bucket. All right, we don't want to play half-court offense all the time. We want to get out in transition, work off step-up screens, work off drag screens, work off a double drag, and be able to do it against all the different defenses that will come our way. Here we are in a drag screen. Now, we got very good with our post-cutting action. And we generally wanted to put pressure on the rim. So when we fed the post here, if we were spaced out like this, whoever this guard here was had to put pressure on the rim, which you'll see here. And then the trail big would screen this defender here, and we'd try and open up the shooter on the weak side. So here on this example, we hit the post early, and we put pressure on the rim, get an easy layup. Here we are on a post feed. Okay, so reading the defense. A pretty easy way to generate a bucket is hit the post. This offensive play here looks to cut backdoor, but obviously there's a defender here, so there's no layup. So his read and our coaching for this player was to try and screen in, and the trail big would look to screen in also, which they do here, and they generate an open shot on that weak side. Okay, this action here, and as coaches, we all look to steal some stuff off other coaches. So this is a pretty common action that the New Zealand national team run. Is this throw and go action. Again, it's got good pace. It operates and generates, and it gets us back into some flow action. So just seeing that again at full speed. So this has been off a made basket. Teams are just in full court man-to-man. I did not have our big guys take the ball out of bounds. I always had my 1, 2, or 3-man take it out of bounds. Just it gave us more ball handling here in the backcourt. Obviously in Australia, so many teams pick up full court. They press, they run and jump. They just try and be disruptive full court. So with us, we're able to get into this action quickly because our two big guys were down the floor. So again, throw it up the floor, hard pressure off the cut. Again, flip it across, flip it back. And then we're back into flow action here. And we've got good pace. Here's good ball movement. You've got the weak side cutting action off the post feed. And it just has the defense scrambling. So now just get into some flow, stuff. We always used to coach that we wanted to have great pace in transition and great pace into our offense. So I didn't want us to have pace into transition and then take forever to get into flow and allow the defense to get organized and match up onto the preferred matchups. We want to generate great pace in transition and then have great pace into our offense and then have good pace during our offense. So I did not want the ball to stop. Players had to make quick decisions, catch and shoot, catch and drive, catch and pass, not catch it and dribble 7 times and play like you're in the Harlem Globetrotters and then, oh, nothing's there and you've wasted 5 seconds. Like the ball need to continually move. So here we are in transition. So here we get into flow. Now as I talked earlier, this is a balanced floor lineup. Here's the ball handling point guard. We've got a guard on this side and a guard on this side. So this is a balanced floor with a lead post and a trail post. So when we work into the open on-ball screen, I always wanted our guys to try and knock this defender down, or if you could simply just reject the on-ball screen and rip to the outside and get onto the rim. Promoted that all the time. So you can see an example here. The defender tries to cheat the on-ball. Again, just a simple rip to the outside, gets onto the rim. Here's another example here off the balanced floor. Guard, lead post, trail big. And sprint into the on-ball screen here. Again, reject to the outside, get into the paint. And as I talked earlier, we want to generate long closeouts. So we beat this defender. We force this defender here to have to help. We throw this pass across the sideline, across the baseline. We create a long closeout. Move the ball to create long closeout. So again, this defender here is in a long closeout situation, which he can't get to the shooter, and we're able to get a shot off. So again, in that open on-ball screen, look to rip baseline anytime you can. Now here are some different examples of how teams could defend on-ball screen. So this is against the low show of the big. So this big here is in a low show. He's in a, however you term it, drops, low show. He's not impacting it. He's sitting off and trying to catch the guard as he comes off the on-ball screen. Now guards have got to get downhill. Got to get downhill and engage him, which he does a good job here. He engages him, creates a passing pocket right here, and our big guy's on the rim. Again, I'll just play that again. Off the low show, gets downhill. Probably could have got downhill a little bit better, got a little sideways. And I think it's important as coaches to, against teams that low show like this, is to come off the on-ball screen, and that first step is downhill towards this defender. Don't come off it and just go sideways. You're not putting any pressure on the rim. Your job as a guard coming off the on-ball screen is to try and draw 2 people, your man and the helper. So if you can get downhill and he has to engage in the ball, then it opens up this action here. So off low shows, get downhill. Another example here, good pace in transition, good ball movement, the ball's been reversed quickly against the low show. The shooter comes here and just has a massive pocket to open up and knock down that shot if you're a very good shooter. Here's a good example of getting downhill. All right, excellent screen set here. Defender goes over, get downhill. Make this defender here have to engage in the ball, which he does, and he contests it. All right, so the ball handler's done a good job of getting downhill and into the paint and drawing his man and the helper, which leaves the big guy open. And in this example here, he's able to come off it and just clean up the miss. Okay, as I said earlier, in transition, when we set the drag screens, about our big guys trying to seal off the defender when they switch. So Alex Loughton does a very good job here of trying to seal them off and get to the front of the rim, which he does. All right, defender does a good job being physical, but probably in this example here, we always wanted to move the ball and look high-low. It's harder to double team when the pass comes from the top. We make a good decision here of passing it back. I would have liked this offensive play here just to hold his seal in the paint instead of releasing and coming to the block. But again, those teams that want to switch, teach your big guys to seal them off and get to the front of the rim. Another example here against the switch is a very good example here of sealing off. He takes his time. He gets that defender on his back and seals him right to the front of the rim for an easy little layup right there. So again, coaches that have to defend against, have to offensively play against teams that want to switch, teach your players to seal them off. Coming to the screen here, you can see 13 here. Just takes his time and gets him on his back and seals him off and runs him to the front of the rim. Very difficult to defend. The only helper here would be this defender here. And again, teaching your players to read the defense. There's no high-low because this defender's really got in there. Then you'd throw that corner skip pass for that shot. So again, against teams that want to switch on-ball screens, teach your big guys to seal them off and run them to the front of the rim. Again, early in transition, we talked about those teams that want to down or ice. What's typically your language on downing or icing on-ball screens in the Philippines?
It's either we call it ice, we call it baseline, or we call it blue.
Okay. So if teams were bluing, this is what we would do. The number 3 here would dribble down and separate. Creates great spacing here. He's drawn that big guy. Remember, off any on-ball screen, you want to try and draw 2 people. So he does a good job here of doing that. And then we throw it back to the big and go straight back into a dribble handoff. This big guy is obviously caught way down here. And now he's able to come off that on-ball screen. The defender goes underneath. And the offensive player makes a good decision there of shooting the ball. Okay, so again, in drags, you can see how our philosophies and systems in transition off drag screens is exactly the same when we get into the half court. So here's an example of the defense in a hard show. So they basically trap the on-ball screen. We make a quick passing decision out. Our trail big, remember me talking earlier about the trail big puts, or high big puts pressure on the front of the rim, which he does here. And again, making passing decisions, all right? So as he catches the ball here, what's his other read? Obviously to find this shooter here in the corner. So if he didn't feel like he'd make a move around this defender who rotated, that he would make that passing decision, which you saw earlier an example of our big guy going straight down the middle of the lane and then kicked it to the corner and we had a wide open shot.
Just a quick question, Coach. So do you designate your big if he's got a roll, he's got a short roll, or roll hard to the basket? Do you designate based on their tendencies?
I do. So earlier on this example here off the drag screen, this is just us in flow. If this player here was a shooting 4-man, he could hold, and you'd simply just pass it to him, and he could shoot it. If this was a shooting 4-man here, he could screen and pop behind the 3-point line and shoot the 3. The 22 here was our 5-man. He was a non-shooter. He could shoot, 10 feet maybe. He could roll to the mid-range area if he felt like he could shoot it from there. He obviously here is not a shooter to keep the floor spaced, so he has to put pressure on the front of the rim. But your question, like if teams were really trapping the on-ball screen, yes, you would short roll because you want to get rid of the ball quickly to the short roll, and then that player here, which basically is what's happening here, as we come off this on-ball screen, the on-ball player, he's obviously double teamed. He just wants to get rid of the ball. And that's what I always used to teach them, is I want the ball quickly out of your hands to either this player or the player across the top of the floor. And then they are the decision makers. They are going to be the assist maker. So here on this example, he quickly gets rid of it, and we make a quick passing decision, and there's the assist. So does that answer your question?
Yes, Coach. Thank you.
Yep. So here's an example here of a team trapping off the on-ball screen. So again, remember the example earlier where they were trapping and looking to deny the reversal. Again, and this is not the same clip. This is a different clip. I believe it's from the same game. But again, getting your assistant coaches and your coaching staff to obviously scout, to understand what type of defensive systems could be coming your way, and educating your players to make those quick decisions. There's obviously a double team here off the on-ball screen. They're denying the trail, so that opposite guard has to relieve pressure and flashes through the middle of the floor. And now it's a 3-on-2. So quickly making a passing decision and a teammate helping you out here in this example, it turns into a 3-on-2 situation, and we make a great passing decision. I mean, could this player have potentially made that pass? Yeah, but it would have been very difficult to. Short outlet, quick passing decision, easy basket.
That's a great counter.
It is. Okay, so now just the flow actions here. Here we are off the open on-ball screen. We get into the backdoor. So we'll start getting into some familiar actions that are with the flow. That was obviously the reversal here. Backdoor, dribble handoff. Again, getting the guard to get downhill. Yeah, the guard gets downhill, pulls up in the pocket, knocks down the jump shot. So this is backdoor, dribble handoff. This is the basic action of flow. Backdoor, dribble handoff, nothing there. Again, backdoor, dribble handoff against the low show. Again, getting downhill, right? Teaching your guards to get downhill and not sideways against teams that want a low show. So number 11 here, Scoochie Smith, does a very, very good job of getting downhill. He draws 2 people, and that's his job. His job off the on-ball screen is to draw 2. He's a little sideways. He probably could have got down into here a little bit better, but he does draw 2. This defender here is the one left on the aisle and have to try and defend a big guy getting on the front of the rim. Okay, I don't know in the Philippines if this action happens a lot defensively where teams try and blow up the dribble handoff. In Australia, this happened a lot where we would get into the dribble handoff here, and this defender here would try and squeeze through this gap and not allow this handoff to happen.
Yes, we got some teams defend that way just to prevent that handover.
So what we would run would be called a bounce cut. And this was a read by the big guy. The big guy had to feel this defender. If he felt the defender was going to get in here and be disruptive on this handoff, then he had to lift the ball above his head, and we're turned into this bounce cut action. So you'll see it here. We've got the backdoor cut, and now they try and blow it up. So then we bounce back, and we create that opportunity there for ourselves. So I'll play that again. Anytime the defender tried to be disruptive in the handoff, we would run bounce cut action. Big guy lifts it above his head, guard bounces back. And then we've obviously got really good spacing on the weak side. So here it is again. So
you call it bounce action.
Yep, call it bounce cut action.
Bounce cut action. Got you.
Yep. The guard would bounce cut. Here it is again. We've obviously got the guard going backdoor on the wing. All right, they're a little disruptive there. This is against the New Zealand Breakers, so a number of the viewers here probably fairly familiar with a few of these New Zealand Breakers. Tom Abercrombie over here, Alex Pledger here, so Tom Abercrombie there defending that on-ball screen. And then we bounce cut back off. So Michael Carrera is coming off this on-ball, this handoff, but it's blowing up. So then he bounce cuts back, gets into the lane, and creates an open shot. So teams that try and blow up the handoff, we'd call that bounce cut action. Okay, another action here is the backdoor. So again, there's obviously thousands of different little wrinkles, but this was kind of the package that we ran. We hit the trail big. We've got the backdoor cut happen here, the first backdoor cut. This defender here is trying to top block on the high side. So, and again, if you have a shooter, he felt like he wasn't getting a shot in a while, and Cam Glidden here was a shooter for us, I would always kind of educate them that they could just, or they could, if they wanted to create a shot for themselves, they could backdoor cut out of the corner. So you can see here, he goes backdoor cut. Obviously, we're looking for this pass to see if we get an easy layup. If not, we pass big to big, back to the top, which we do here. And then two things can happen. This big guy here down screens for this guard to come off a turnout, or we get into backdoor dribble handoff from this side. So I'll just rewind and play that again. So you see the backdoor cut on the wing, the corner guy cuts backdoor, we pass big to big, and then we down screen, and the shooter comes off the down screen and looks for the jumper. So that's backdoor action. Again, here's another, we go into the open on-ball screen, the wing goes backdoor, we go handoff, we go backdoor, and then we go backdoor and we generate the layup. So look, anytime I felt that we ran flow and we could get 3 ball reversals, I always felt that we're very difficult to defend. And again, playing with pace doesn't mean you just come down in the first 10 seconds, try and get a shot up. It's not about that. It was just trying to generate pace for as long as the shot clock would allow us, if it would generate an easy shot for us in the first 10 seconds or with 2 seconds to go. We get into offense here at the 20-second mark. We've got the open on-ball screen here, lifting big, backdoor, handoff, backdoor. And that took us 10 seconds and we had 3 ball reversals, all right? We could still continue to run that action.
So you don't have to score for 7 seconds and then, you know, they can freelance on the last 7 or something like that?
Yeah, we would. I definitely tried to get our guys to stay very disciplined and structured in our stuff. I guess when it got probably down to the 7, 8, 7, 6 second mark, we're definitely starting to operate off an on-ball screen, or if the ball's in the hands of a guard that can really generate a shot for himself or has the ability to break his defender down and get into the paint. We always wanted to try and get paint penetration in that last 8 seconds, and not just dance behind the 3-point line and shoot a three. I wanted them to be able to break the defender down and get into the paint, play off 2 feet, and finish, dump off to the big, or kick out to the perimeter shooters. So, yeah, trying to instill that poise and patience in your players is really important, and not to panic. It's okay to take a shot with 1 second on the clock.
All right.
Another little wrinkle here. Here we are getting into the open on-ball screen. Now, again, coaching your players, all right? It is pointless for number 10 to cut backdoor when the defender of this player is standing in the lane, because there's no scoring opportunity for him. So we would down screen in this action. Number 10 would see that, and he would simply cut backdoor and down screen, which you'll see here. He down screens. Travis Trice has to cut right around the outside of that defender. You know, now there's good separation here, and the defender's chasing. So again, making that read. Number 10 cannot cut back. I mean, he can cut back door, but there's no scoring opportunity. So how can he help his teammate? Well, he can help by down screening. So this is a down screen dribble handoff. And again, against low shows, we want these guards to get that first, that plant that outside foot and get downhill. We go a little sideways off this on-ball screen, but that simple down screen at the start of the offense just created enough space for our guard to pull up and shoot a mid-range jumper. So again, when the defender's standing in the lane, that defender of the corner defender, we want a down screen here. Now we down screen here on this action here was probably not quite the right read. He probably should have gone back door, because look at all the space in here. He should have just cut right through there and looked for that layup. But he chose the down screen. We curl. So again, just having some variety. I think where flow becomes predictable and easy to defend is when you do the same thing all the time. When you have some variety with your cutting is when it becomes very difficult to defend.
Oh, yeah.
So we have all these different cuts. I assume that's, I don't know how detailed and how many layers teams have in the Philippines, but this is just the basic flow stuff with all these different little reads. Now, if we wanted to generate more space for this offensive player here, instead of cutting backdoor, we would simply, what we called a CJ cut, and we would cut from wing to wing. We would just cut straight through the free throw line to open up more space here for this defender here to come off the handoff or simply go backdoor. So I'll play these clips here. We've got a CJ cut through. And we obviously get downhill off the low show, which creates a good shot there.
Why is it called CJ? We go CJ Bruden?
CJ Bruden. So
all right. Yeah.
Well, I called that cut after him because when he played for the New Zealand Breakers, he used to run this cut all the time. And he knows I call it that because I told him one day, in honor of him, I called it the CJ cut. So, yeah, very good pickup there. So we get organized here. Again, you can see the wing offensive player here. CJ cut through the free throw line. You can see this offensive player here just open up all this space. Generally, if he backdoor cut, he'd go through there. Here on the CJ, he goes from wing to wing, and the point guard here would slide to the corner. So again, when you CJ cut, if it comes back to the other side, it allows your point guard to come off the dribble handoff on the second side of the floor.
Just for the attendees who doesn't know, CJ Bruden is a former national team player of Australia, one of the greatest boomers. He's now an assistant coach with an NBL team at Perth. Am I right?
With Brisbane Bullets.
Brisbane. Sorry.
Yep. CJ was an outstanding national team player for many years at the point guard position, and he's got into the coaching field, which is great for him to give back to the game.
I was just talking with Coach CJ just earlier.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I haven't spoken to him in a while, so I know they had a bit of an up and down season this year. Here we are with the CJ cut and the backdoor cut. So again, this generates that good space which I was talking about. So this wing offensive player here kind of cuts through this area here, and it opens up that backdoor cut for a good layup there. Now, if we don't get that, if we do not get that backdoor cut layup, then again, it's a little bit like the backdoor, but this time it's the CJ cut backdoor. Just a little subtle change. Typically, we would go big to big and pass back to this big, but this team here looks to deny. So we would just turn into a pin down handoff, which our guys get organized and get into that action right there. Here we are again. Goes back door. Now, teams used to try and top block us. That's what we called it defensively, and I'll explain it here. So they knew that the down screen was coming. So this defender here would try and top block us and not allow us to go off that down screen. So teams that did that, we would look high-low and throw straight down the middle of the floor. So you'll see it here in game time. Goes back door. He's looking to go off the down screen. They top block, and so we throw it straight down the middle of the floor and get a layup that way. So can't take everything away. It's just about educating your players to make the right passing decisions.
So we do a lot of 3-on-2, 3-on-3, 2-on-2.
Yeah.
Breakdown. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of 3-on-3, a lot of 4-on-4. At practice is just to get your guys to understand how to make the appropriate reads against the changing defenses. In practice, I would get our guys to, they could defend any way they wanted. They could top block, they could switch. Here's an example here of us CJ cutting through the free throw line here with the wing offensive player. This defender here is trying to be disruptive and blow up this handoff. And if you have a good ball handling big guy, which we had in this example here, he makes a great read as he's going into that dribble handoff. He sees there's space, he just turns the corner. And again, just making those appropriate reads. Now, this action here, you can ask me why I call it the Irish cut. I don't really have an answer for that. I just call it that because it's Irish cut is just a bit different. Now, I typically ran this Irish cut against teams that switched the backdoor dribble handoff. So this action here, you know, they're not switching this action here, but you can see that this guy here that's going to go backdoor. So this is where all the layers start coming together. Remember, he could backdoor cut, he could CJ cut, he could down screen, right? This one here, he's going to Irish cut. So he's going to go halfway back door, and then he's going to hook back up through the middle and catch it in the middle of the floor. So you'll see him here hook back up, and then this opposite big guy that was down here will sprint up into a high on-ball screen. And this was very good action for us. It was difficult for teams to defend. Again, it gives some variety to our cutting action. So here we are going Irish cut into the high on-ball screen, which if I paused it right there, that just looks like horns, right?
Yes.
It's a double high on-ball screen with two guards in the corners, right? So this was kind of our way to get into horns, but after some movement. it makes it harder to guard. There's some movement going on, and then we're into horns action, which has our big guy sprinting up into this high on ball screen. He's obviously the 5-man, so he's going to roll as the 5-man, and the 4-man's going to pop. And go high-low. So again, if I play that clip from the very start, this is our way of getting into horns action off some movement. We've had a ball reversal. We've had some movement of the defense. We get into horns. We throw it back to the top. We look high-low, like what you would if you just ran a typical horns. Here we are running Irish cut again. So we get a backdoor dribble handoff. This time we Irish cut back up through the middle. And again, we're back into horns action here. Again, it was good movement. Good player movement, good ball movement. Here we are again back into horns action, which is the Irish stuff. We get good penetration. All right, so we ran the Irish action a few times, and then teams start to understand what we're trying to do. So they would try and deny the Irish cut. So you can see Scoochie Smith's gone backdoor here and hook back up through the middle. Nathan Sobey here, who plays, he's played for Australia as well, looks to deny. So typically this big guy here that's sprinting up into this on-ball screen, he sees that he's denied. So then he flashes, and this is the Irish cut backdoor action. So you'll see 11 go backdoor, hook up through the middle. He's denied, boom, flash, backdoor. We'll get a layup out of that. So again, you can't deny everything. We had a counter for everything. Takes a lot of coaching, a lot of 5-on-0, a lot of repetition. Here we are into the open on-ball screen. The wing defender Irish cuts, he's denied, flash. And comes off that handoff there. Okay, this would probably be our, second, third most favorite action here was this kick action. In this example here, we're basically working off a drag screen, but we're into flow, all right, off a loaded floor. Lead guard, lead big guy, trail big, guard, all right? And the education that we taught this player here was to read this defender who's guarding this man. Now, obviously, he can't go backdoor, and his man's sitting way off him. So we would work into this kick action. So the ball would go kick to the top, kick to the wing, kick to the corner. So you'll see it here. We go kick, and then we would flare this wing offensive player to the top, and then he would work off this on-ball screen here from this big guy who's flashing high. So again, good pace, good player movement, good ball movement, kick, flare. Obviously, he may have a shot there. If not, he works off the on-ball screen, he rolls, and you've got defenders chasing in long closeout situations. Again, a good kick, we flare. So I'll play it again. This is against the Perth Wildcats. Kick, we flare. We work off the high on-ball screen. And Jerry Evans was a very good shooter, so he could pop out of the big dives. Again, the defense is always chasing. So here we are in transition, working off a step-up screen into a drag screen, and we kick it, and we kick it, and we flare. All right? Now, we don't kick it to the top this time. So to keep floor spacing, this guard here will flare off the top, and he doesn't get it, so he flares to the wing and pushes this guy down, and then we work into this on-ball screen, and this big flash is high, which is here. And this is just like an open on-ball screen. If we didn't have no action here, you'd kick it to this big guy at the top and then work into our backdoor dribble handoff or whatever we wanted to work on that side of the floor. So I'll just play it at game speed so you can see the whole clip. And we just continue to step up into a drag screen, kick, flare them, not there, because they're playing so the defense is so stretched. Okay, again, educating your players to make reads. So this was the corner skip. The big guy that caught at the top is looking high-low and has to read this defender here who's guarding this offensive player in the corner. So he can't throw the high-low pass because he's taking that away. So we'd look to, there was two reads they could make. They could kick it, or they could just corner skip it, which we do here. We corner skip it, again, creating another long closeout. It's about making passing decisions to create long closeouts because they're the hardest thing to defend. And Damien Martin, who's played for Australia, is arguably one of the better defenders in the history of the NBL. That's a long closeout for anybody against someone who's a very good shooter. So he has to get to that closeout and try and take away the shot. And with his speed and momentum, if Cam Glidden chose not to shoot that, then I would say he would shot fake him and drive around him because it's very difficult to defend. But again, it simply was made by just the correct passing decision. Quick skip, long closeout creates an easy shot. Okay. Again, flare. This is another little wrinkle out of flow, and we would call this the flare and dive. Now, instead of this guy going backdoor or down screen or CJ or Irish, another action they could run would be to flare. So the corner offensive player would come up and flare the wing, and we flare him. We create a wide open shot right there. So for the NBA fans in the Philippines, this player here is Torrey Craig. I coached Torrey Craig for 2 years in Cairns. He plays for the Denver Nuggets right now. And we would run this action for Torrey a lot. He's a 6'7" three-man, defended by a 6'6" Thomas Abercrombie. Here's Cam Glidden, and here's Corey Webster, who plays for the New Zealand Tall Blacks, who's, 6'2". So we'd run this flare and dive against, and we would educate educate Torrey in this situation here to flare screen Corey Webster and force the switch. All right. If he doesn't switch, then that slip to the front of the rim, you can see that he is open right there. And we would build it up from here. We would either flare the shooter and get a shot like we saw in the first clip. We would slip through the confusion here for the defense and find Torrey on the front of the rim for a layup. Or we would throw the ball back to the wing and then post Torrey up. So generally teams would switch this action, and it was a way for us to post up our three-man. So game speed here, flare screen, dives to the front of the rim, throw it back. Torrey should have held his spot here and just come back to the post and post it up. But again, just a wrinkle to be able to run, to be able to try and find the three-man on the block. Now, the way I used to teach flow and all these different options was obviously each player needed to understand the appropriate cuts that could potentially put them in scoring positions, but would also open up their teammates. So obviously Torrey's ability to set a flare screen here opens up a very good shooter. If they defended a certain way, then he would be open on that slip, or he could come peel back and post up. So again, difficult action to defend, which we would call the flare and dive. Here it is again. Again, we flare. You can see that defender having to get over that screen. We set the flare. We create another closeout. It's all about defending closeouts. And Corey Webster gets lifted, and we get a wide open shot. Okay. Now, I'm not sure if you do this in the Philippines. the way I used to coach this, so this is Nathan Jawai down here, a big 5-man, not typically very comfortable on the perimeter. Obviously is a lot more effective in this area. So we would call this 5-side action. The big guy had the decision here, especially the 5s, to stay down or to lift early. So here in this action here, he chooses to stay low and steps across and looks to step up and step in and post up. So we've got the open on-ball screen here. Generally, he would have lifted, and this guard would move over to the wing and get into our backdoor and all those different options that I've just gone through. But here in 5-side, there needed to be some communication, just eye contact, some verbal communication. You can see Nate here pointing to the point guard to move off the wing and pull back up into the seam area. We'd come off this on-ball screen and throw it across the floor. Now, the defender here standing in the middle of the lane, so Nate then steps across and looks to seal up. He's wide open there. We're probably too high here on the floor to be able to find that post feed, but that was, again, a cutting decision for him that he could stay low and get into a post-up situation. So again, this is where he stays down. Now his reads were this: if he couldn't step across and get the post-up, as the ball got moved across the floor, he would be sprinting up into a punch screen, into a step-up screen to keep ball movement. So we come off the open on-ball screen, pass across the floor, step up here. This action had 3 reads. 1, he could step across and post up. 2, he could sprint up the floor and set a punch screen. 3, he could flash to the elbow and we would throw it to him and then we'd work off that action. So again, unpredictability, right? He can do 3 things. He can post up, he can flash and screen, or he can flash and catch it. So the first clip here had him step across and post. The second clip here, he flashes and wants the ball caught on the elbow. And so we basically work into a backdoor dribble handoff. But here we go backdoor, backdoor. We throw it big to big, and then we get the down screen. All right, but then they try and top block, which we talked about earlier. And so we throw the pass straight down the middle of the floor, and we get the layup. Here's another example of 5-side. Come off the on ball, we flip it across, and now we punch screen. So you've seen all 3 examples there of what happens if the big guy stays down instead of lifting on the ball reversal. If he stays down, he has those 3 options. He can flash and catch, sprint up into an on-ball screen, or step across and stay low and post up. Okay, so now a counter. What happens if you come down off a loaded floor, which is this situation here? Point guard, trail big, guard, lead big. They deny the reversal. So what do? Well, we used to call away. We would run this away action. So the trail man would screen away. He would turn. And if you think about what we just ran in 5-side with the big flashing and catching, this is what this action turns into. Guard flies off. We get into a dribble handoff. Nothing there. Lifting big. Backdoor dribble handoff. Oh, we're in bounce cut action. Generates a shot. So let's have a look at that clip all the way through. You can start to see some things starting to tie together. So we away screen. We hit the flash. Backdoor cut, dribble handoff. Nothing there. Backdoor cut. Oh, they try and blow it up. We bounce cut. He goes underneath. Generates a wide open shot. So again, very good pace. Very good ball movement. Here we go away again. We away screen off a loaded floor and we turn around and screen again. So again, being unpredictable. Clip before, this big guy here that screened away could stop and pivot on the elbow there and catch the ball. This time here he screens away and he flip screens and goes re-screens it, right, and dives, which this here is a little bit like the Irish cut, where this big is lifting and this guard is moving to the corner, and you're basically back into your horns action with the two bigs high, and the 5-man's a roller, and the 4-man's a popper. So he lifts, 4-man lifts. Here we are again with away screen. He flips screens and screens again. Jerry was a pick and pop 4-man with our 5-man down, so he pops, all right, but our guard gets on in front of the rim. Okay, another little wrinkle here in elbows. And this is how we used to try and get our bigs off a UCLA screen, as our guard would walk his defender into the elbow. We generally would call this stuff out of like timeouts or dead balls for a little quick hitter. So our corner offensive player lifts and we hit the wing, and then we UCLA the big guy off a back screen for a layup right there. So I'll play that again at game speed. Open on-ball screen, ball reversal, wing offensive player walks in and we brush the big guy off a UCLA screen. So here we are again with it. Again to the open on-ball screen here. Turns in, back screen, not there, work off the high on-ball screen or a step out catch and shoot. So again, another little wrinkle. Another wrinkle here is what we would call the corner wedge. And this was for a ball handling 4-man. So the 4-man that catches it right here, Stevie Way. We would CJ cut again, another little wrinkle out of a timeout or dead ball. And the corner offensive player would sprint up and set a corner wedge screen to force a switch. And then obviously we've got our 4-man against a smaller guard in the post. We create a switch. We create a mismatch. Okay, another wrinkle here. Just another little set play out of our stuff. If the point guard here chose to dribble over the top of the trail big, then it would automatically trigger a cross screen down screen. So here we are, generally would come down the floor and hit the trail big. He'd work into the open on-ball screen. This time here, the point guard dribbles over the top, which triggers that guard here to go backdoor and set a cross screen and work off the down screen. Again, just another little set play, a little wrinkle. All right, here we are again. We rub over the top, turns into the cross screen and down screen. Gets our big guy on the front of the rim. So again, just a way to, obviously as coaches, it's all about trying to keep players happy with touches and so on and so forth. And again, just being able to make the reads, right? So when we talked about Irish earlier, the Irish cut earlier, when they try and deny, so here they switch. So they deny here, we hit the high post because they've switched it, creates a mismatch. We get our bigger 4-man against a smaller 3-man, creates great scoring opportunity there. Again, here's the rub action with a little wrinkle. The defender looks to cheat the cross screen, and this is our 4-man down here underneath. The defender tries to cheat over the cross screen, so then he just makes a counter cut and he just flashes off the down screen and creates a wide open shot right there for himself. Again, another closeout. So again, just all these different little counters, all right? So we had the away screen action off a loaded floor when the trail big was denied. Another counter here when the wing is denied, right? So here we are off a balanced floor. We've got a guard on this side, guard here, lead big, trail big, point guard. The ball reversal is denied. So we would work back into triple, all right? So dribble handoff with the point guard, and it basically turns into floppy action. It basically turns into turnouts, all right? So triple turns into floppy action. Can't reverse the ball, we go dribble handoff. The lead big here hooks up and sets a screen here. So I didn't like our guards just to cut underneath. I like to try and get an Iverson cut over one side and a turnout on the other side. So naturally this guy is denied, so he should be going backdoor. And so we've got the dribble handoff here with this big, and he's going to come down here and set this down screen. And this big guy here is sprinted up to this elbow, so we're going to Iverson cut over the top here. And we're going to come off a pin down screen on this side. So you've got the guard going over the top, and you've got the guard coming underneath. So it's harder for the defenders to switch it if you just both went underneath. All right, so we've got Cam Glidden here going over the top of the Iverson screen, generates a shot. So we run triple when we just want to counter, or we just can't reverse the ball off a balanced floor. All right, so we've got the turnout happening on that side. So the first example here was Cam Glidden come off the Iverson cut, which this is the Iverson cut here. Here we got Mitch McCarron coming off a down screen. A pin down screen comes off the turnout, knocks down the jumper that way.
So it's a counter for teams that loves to deny or
So
to take away that pass.
Yep, so when they try and deny the reversal to the wing off a balanced floor, we used to call that triple. That was the counter to that.
All right, gotcha.
And now, so just some little reads here out of triple. So I'll just let them run. We used to call this triple punch. So my verbal was triple punch. All right. So, and that's my verbal and my visual. And the punch action was to get the ball into the post. So we dribble handoff. We've got the Iverson, the turnout. We hit the wing and we throw it into the post. And now we've got our post cutting action happening on the other side of the floor. And this is, again, the New Zealand Breakers in their championship days used to just run floppy action just to throw the ball into the post to get all this post cutting action, and they would try and score off the post feed. So you can see here, we hit the post. The high guard rub screens off the big who plants his feet on the elbow. And then he looks to screen for the shooter coming out of the corner, which we get there and we create a wide open shot. So that was triple punch. Obviously the big guy can go to work in the post. Here we are in triple again. Again, another triple punch, rub screen. We get a little sneaky layup off that post cutting action. So, you know, you can be very creative off the post cutting action. I mean, I've, tried different ways of cutting off post feeds. You can obviously send the post feeder through. You can feed the post and screen on the elbow and bring this guard here off that screen. I have generally found that this is the hardest action to defend. When we do find the postman, but again, as coaches, it's just experimenting with what you find is effective. And I did this in the NBL. I mean, I was an assistant for 8 years and got to coach with some very, very good coaches. And just through my own upskilling, you try different things. Well, this season I'm going to try this. This season I'm going to try that. And you find what works for you and what your players find productive. And then you end up kind of mastering your craft, if you know what I'm saying. So that's what we used to do off the post feed. So here's another little wrinkle. We used to call this triple loop. This was the dribble handoff happening here. You got the Iverson cut and the turnout, and now the bigs would circle out and the big guy would loop in. All right, again, moving the, so I'll just play the clip back from the start. Here we are coming down the floor. Dribble handoff. We've got the turnout and the Iverson cut. We circle away and we loop in and pause it. If we have nothing there, we hit the trail big and we're back into backdoor dribble handoff, or Irish or CJ or flare and dive or whatever. But again, we could go triple back into flow. So all our actions, our away action on that counter off a loaded floor or triple off a balanced floor here would always allow us to get back into flow. But again, we run triple here. Cam Glidden comes off. We come into the on-ball screen. They're behind. They switch it. So now we have a guard against a 5-man. He creates space and creates a shot. Here we are in triple loop again. We get into the Iverson cut and the turnout, and then we circle away. Now this is another little read, right? And this was educating your players. Alex Loughton here is a very good three-point shooter as a 4-man. So instead of him having to circle away and sit down here, he could pop to the corner and space the floor as he does there. And now look how spaced the floor is with the 5-man sprinting into the on-ball screen. Now,
so it becomes a 5-out offense, basically. Yeah,
it does. Now, if the 5-man and 4-man were flipped in this situation, obviously the 5-man is not popping to the corner because he's not a threat. But because it was the 4-man on that side of the floor, he could pop, and then it turns into 5-out. Exactly right.
Do you ever limit your dribbles, like you specific rule on a guard that you're only allowed 3 dribbles, or because I've been seeing less and less dribble. Just one of the questions from the chat on the YouTube.
It's a good observation. As I said earlier, I did not like coaching ball stoppers, and what I define a ball stopper is that the ball's moving and it's getting passed, and it comes to a player and the ball just stops. And he doesn't really know what he's doing, and then he dribbles 5 or 6 times and tries to create something for himself. Ultimately, that's what ball stoppers do, and everyone else is standing around and watching him play. My terminology with these guys here is we used to play off a 2 count, 1 and 2, and you're doing something. So in that 1 and 2, you better be shooting, passing, or dribbling, right? So, and being productive with it. But yeah, typically with all these clips here, this is how we played. The ball moved quickly. I wanted the receiver of the ball to know what he was doing before he caught it. That's how he had to think. So my terminology with it is try and play ahead of the game. So are you reading the floor before you catch the ball, or are you reading the floor after you catch it? Now, the good ones, they read it before they catch it. They already know where everybody is offensively, they already know where everyone is defensively. They know if they catch it and they drive into this area, that defender there is either going to overhelp and create a shot for my teammate, or he's not going to help at all, and I'm going to be able to really get into the lane and make some plays. So, no, I didn't limit their dribbles, but I limited their time. So 1 and 2, and you better be doing something. And you know, the imports or new Australian players that I signed, had to understand that philosophy and concept pretty early, or it was sitting down over here next to me on the bench trying to figure out how to get on the floor. So, yeah, good observation by that viewer.
And so if if they it's a count, right? So 1, 2. So what do you do if the player holds the ball?
If you say it again,
If the player holds on the ball longer. So what? There you go. There you go. Clear.
Pretty clear. Like it was, and we all agreed this is the way we wanted to play. We wanted to move the ball. We wanted to play a team game. We wanted great spacing. We were not going to stand around and watch somebody dribble 5 or 6 times. We weren't going to play that type of basketball. And, we generally didn't have rosters that were super, super talented with amazing talent like some of the other teams in the league. We had to play a little bit different. And that was our way of playing. And generally, look, that's the international way of playing. I mean, international teams, your national team, the New Zealand national team, the Australian national team. I mean, think back to the way that the Australian team played at the previous World Cup. I mean, they played some beautiful basketball, and it was all player movement and ball movement. It wasn't like we were sitting there watching Patty Mills take 17 dribbles to try and get a shot off. They never played that way, right? And that's the way that we wanted to play.
Coach, just a follow-up. If you have not so smart players, or players that are a bit slower, do you simplify things, or you must let him understand, or how do you coach that?
Yeah, it's a good question, because you're exactly right. I mean, some players read the game very quickly.
Yeah.
Some players don't. So Torrey Craig, for example, he played for me for 2 years. I recruited him out of the University of South Carolina Upstate, which is a little Division I school in South Carolina here. He played in a system where he was allowed to hold on to the ball for a long time and take lots of dribbles to try and make plays. Big jump going from USC Upstate to the Cains Taipans in the Australian National League as a rookie. And he had some learning to do. I mean, he struggled early on to play without the ball. And, we just had to keep coaching him and coaching him. I mean, he was always a phenomenal defender and an outstanding athlete, and very tough, and would do anything for the team. His commitment to winning was sensational, but it took him a bit of time. But again, just to answer your question, you just had to coach him up and get him to understand that if you make quick decisions and you try and play ahead of the game and show him on video, stop it at practice and explain to him. I always remember used to saying to him, Torrey, why did you do that and what did you see? Early on, he couldn't answer that question. He didn't know why he did it, and he didn't understand what he saw and why he did it. But as we coached him up on it, he got so much better at it and started making better decisions, and now he's a bona fide NBA player playing on one of the best teams in the NBA, and plays a significant role for them. It just takes coaching, coaching on the run, coaching at practice, coaching on video. This is what the great players do. I mean, the Kobe Bryants and the Michael Jordans and those players, they can just play ahead of the game. They just know what's happening before it happens. And and some players pick it up very quickly, and some don't.
Yeah, well, we were amazed of how Australia runs it. That's why we fell in love with the offense. Practically, maybe 80% of the teams here professionally and in the other pro league, which is the MPBL, also runs flow offense. How young does the Australians, at what level do they start running it, or is it like from I know you have the Australian Institute of Sports, and you have a college league. So how often, or how young can, like, for the attendees that are high school, elementary coaches, how young can they start developing this good reads and habits?
Well, when I coached the Cains Taipans, we had Cains basketball, which is basically associated with the Cains Taipans, and that's the junior club in Cairns, Australia. We were teaching our under 12s, so that's 10 and 11-year-olds, just motion concepts, how to move without the ball, how to keep spacing, start to teach them to play without the ball. It's not okay to catch the ball and dribble 17 times to try and get yourself a shot. So we would teach that at that age group. But then at the under 14 age group, under 16 age group, and under 18 age group, we would start teaching them flow. A couple of reasons. And from a Cains Taipan's perspective, if an under 12 boy, by the time he got to under 18s, under 20s, had been running flow for that long, he obviously had a competitive advantage against a lot of other players in Australia because he understood how to run our action. But two, I think it teaches ball movement and player movement, and obviously with all these different little reads and wrinkles that I'm showing you here, it teaches them to make decisions. But what the package of flow at the under 14 level was obviously a lot simpler than what it was at the under 18 level. So all these different little wrinkles and reads and stuff that I'm showing you here, I could cut out 60% of it for 70% of it for the under 14 team to run, because you don't need to run all these different little reads. Now, obviously at the pro game, you do, because you need to put your players in positions to be successful. And so educating Cam Glidden or Scoochie Smith here, number 11, to make an Irish cut, he knows that if he runs an Irish cut, he's probably getting the ball back in his hands, and that's a strength of his, and he can be very productive. And as we would go up from under 14s to under 16s to under 18s, we would make flow a little bit more complex to increase their basketball IQ. So to answer your question, you can run, to me, you can start running flow to 11, 12, 13-year-olds easy. And we did it. Our representative teams that would go away to Australian national championships would run flow. So, and what we found in the clubs, in our club personally for the coaches, it was easier for them to coach the game. So a coach that started at the under 12 level could then move up to under 14s as his experience or her experience got better. They had to teach the game, teach flow a little bit more complex. Then when they jumped up to under 16s, it became a little bit more complex again, so that their basketball knowledge of the game and of the offense improved. And so we would, not only as our players would elevate up the age group, so would our coaches, and that's how we would develop our coaches. Instead of this coach running this offense and that coach running that offense and this coach running that offense. So a kid that was at the under 12 level that went up to under 14s and then under 16s, by the time he gets to under 18s, he might have had to have learned how to play 7 different offenses, which that's not productive to me. I think the skill development's hugely important, and understanding the system's really important. If they play for state teams or a national team, well, yeah, they're probably going to get into running different things. But, you know, with this stuff that I'm showing here today, there's obviously lots of different cuts, lots of different decision-making, different on-ball screens. You've obviously got the transition component. They are learning a lot of stuff here that can move into any offense. Now, yeah, any coach could say that. If we at Cains Basketball wanted to teach our kids how to run the triangle, well, they're learning a lot of things out of that as well. I just thought it was very productive to try and keep everything very uniform all the way through. And we saw some big success with our teams. We saw some big success with individual players starting to represent state teams and our national teams.
Jordan has a question all the way from Kuala Lumpur. Jordan?
Hi, Coach.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very good.
So my question is, do all the teams, the junior teams or the junior program in Australia running this system?
In Cairns, we did, yes.
What about other states?
Other states don't, but like I said earlier, they could have, and they do. I know other clubs do this, is that they pick, if a club just wants to run motion offense, that's what they teach all their junior programs. Some clubs do not do that. Some clubs do what I mentioned earlier, where a coach at the under 12 level may be teaching motion, and a coach at the under 14 level may be teaching the triangle, and a coach at the under 14 level may be teaching a shuffle offense. So it varies. But what we found very, very productive, and you got to understand the population of Cairns, Australia is about 150,000 people. We've been able to generate Nate Jarwai and Aaron Baines as 2 NBA players. Cody Statman currently plays at the University of Virginia. We've had numerous players play on our state teams, and this is from a tiny little basketball club. And we contributed a lot of that success to consistent, uniform coaching of a system, and also the skill development that we put in place. So our director of coaching directed our coaches that we want these skill development areas addressed, and we will evaluate your coaching on the development of your players at the end of the year as they move up to the next age group. Now, if you want to move up as a coach, then you need to be able to tick off these boxes that we've instructed you that you need to address, both skill development and systematically in the system that we run. And we found that very productive, and you know, the club far exceeded results when it came to the success of teams and also the success of individual players.
All right, thank you, Coach. That's an awesome way to develop the game and the players.
Oh, it is, and it's proven because we've done it for 6, 7, 8 years doing it that way. It was frustrating for me, and I kind of ran this at Cains Basketball. It was very frustrating for me that so many coaches were teaching different things, different skills, and nothing was uniformed. And when we changed that, the coaches, we could bounce things off each other as coaches because we were teaching the same things. You know, I'm struggling with this. How can you help me with that? Hey, have you tried this? Because I've been doing this and it's been really productive. And then we also saw our players make huge individual gains, both just skill-wise and then systematically.
I think gem of knowledge because most of the younger players fall in love with dribbles or
For sure.
having so many dribbles. So same here, same in the Philippine setting, and then when I was coaching in Malaysia, same thing. So I think that's a good assessment to start them with a flow early
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, the problem is in Malaysia, we don't have a uniform system. Like every different coaches, they have different system, different philosophies, and that's why the players like they learn a lot of the different system, but it's difficult.
Yeah, I think as I said earlier, obviously from the boys' side of things at Cairns basketball, for me as the head coach, I wanted to put the boys in the best possible position to be able to play for the Cairns Taipans. And us running flow at this level, as an under 12-year-old, working all the way up to by the time you become an under 18, you've got a pretty good idea of how talented they're going to be. If they've got a really good understanding of the system and the terminology, they have an unbelievable opportunity to play for an NBL team or represent Australia, or like what's happened with Nate Jarwai and Aaron Baines, have been able to go on to play in the NBA. Cody Statman has come through Cairns basketball as a young junior and been able to move on to the University of Virginia, who's one of the best college basketball programs in the country here. So, and that's coming from a very small basketball club. There's only like 500 members. So yeah, I think that's the way to go. But I'll finish up this this demonstration of flow here. Okay. Do we have time?
We have we have 10 minutes, Coach.
Okay, so let's go through this. So this is just our triple loop action. Here it is again. We counter back with the dribble handoff. We got the Iverson cut and the turnout. All right, and we get the loop circle out in the loop, and this works us back into the high-low right there. Obviously, if that high-low was not there, as I said earlier, it allows us to get back into flow. So if we didn't make this high-low pass, then we would be backdoor, dribble handoff. But great passing decision here, and we get the high-low. Very, very well done. Okay, another little wrinkle here. Hammer screen, drift action that we loop in. All right, so we call this the gun or drift action. Very common play run around the world. So we've got the drift action happening on this side with this pin and screen here, and we'll drift this shooter to the corner. Or we come into the on-ball screen, the guard rejects the on-ball screen, and then we turn around and we screen here, and we bring this shooter off this gun action for this shot here. So you can see it here, we screen, and we get a wide open shot there. So drift and gun off triple. Here we are again with the dribble handoff. All right, we circle out, we loop in, we go baseline, and we get the drift screen across the baseline for the jumper. All right, so two good examples there. Again, out of triple, all right, out of a counter, but again, probably called it a dead ball situation or out of a timeout. Here we are in triple drop. Again, a set play. This is what I ran when I wanted to try and post up a guard. So we would hit the turnout man. So I'll run it again. Here he comes off the turnout. Here's Mitch McCarron coming off the turnout. These guards exchange on the weak side. We throw it back to the top. We back screen, and then we post up our three-man on the block. Again, just another little wrinkle to be able to try and post somebody up. Okay. And last counter here. This is our stick action. We used to call this one. So the trail big guy off a balanced floor, right? So you've got away We ran flow away off a loaded floor. We've got stick action off a balanced floor. And this is when the trail big guy is denied. So this trail big is denied. So he screens away. We get a 2-guard front with a big guy on the wing and a low big here and a guard on this wing. Now this is where we work into a UCLA, into an on-ball screen. So I'll let these run. We pass the ball across the floor, goes off the back screen and into a high on-ball screen. Generates a shot. So here's another example here. Trail big guy screens away, goes off the UCLA screen into the high on-ball screen. And here we just work high-low. So you can see a lot of common actions develop for us as we run through our system. Big guy screens away, goes off the UCLA. Obviously, easy little layup here off the back screen. All right, so that's just, now here's some examples of running stick into flow. So we come down the floor, trail big, screens away. We go off the UCLA screen. We go into the high on ball. Big guy rolls. Now, just imagine if this guard here just dribbled the ball down the floor and pass it to the trail big guy, and he passes it to the wing, and we're into the open on ball screen. So we've run that action to get to this point. Lifting big, and now we're back into backdoor dribble handoff. All right, so I'll play that clip all the way through. We run stick when the trail big guy is denied. All right, so we come down the floor. This trail big man here is denied, or he can just choose to screen away. It's his decision. That's him. That's you as a coach educating them on they want to have some variety in their stuff and not be predictable. So he screens away, and so I'll let it play. Screens away, guard to guard, goes off the UCLA screen into the high on ball screen. We throw it back. We look high-low, not there. We go into the open on ball screen. And now we're into a down screen dribble handoff. All right, stick into flow. Big guy screens away. Guard to guard, off the back screen into the high on ball. He pops because he's a 4-man into the open on ball screen. We're into a down screen dribble handoff on that action. So again, an ability to go. So we can go triple into flow. We can go stick into flow. We can go away into flow. So those are your counters to when ball reversal's denied. So just different little counters here. So the trail big guy, this is stick again, but if this was a non-ball handling guard, we would loop, or it was an athlete, we'd run this as a little read. But here's your point guard with the ball here. He dribbles across. Our trail big guy screened away. So we would loop this guard in front of the point guard, and he would go off this back screen. You can see it here. Screen away, loops in front, and this one here we find the lob and we throw over the top. Here we are again. We screen away, and he loops off back into the high on ball screen, and we find the big guy on the front of the rim. All right, screen away, he loops. Now these are little reads. These are little set plays and wrinkles that we would run out of stick action. So we would call this loop pin. So he would loop off, and then we'd screen down and pin him in. If that wasn't there. So what are we looking for here? As he's coming off this down screen, we're looking for the shot. We're looking for the big guy posting up, or the big guy, like earlier on in 5-side, he can sprint up into a punch screen. So that's what he does here. And like you talked about earlier, we're in 5 out, right? We've just changed the angle of the screen, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out. The lane's open, wide open. We work off the punch screen, we get paint penetration, we get on the front of the rim. We've also got shooters. Again, this is just you educating your players. So anytime a defender goes under a screen, you're going to kick back. So Jerome Randall here is guarding Cam Glidden over the top of the screen. All right, he tries to cheat and go under the screen. So he just kick back, wide open shot. Creates a closeout, creates a wide open shot. Here we go, we loop, all right? Again, the defender goes underneath. He doesn't have a shot, so then the big guy just flips screens and turns into a punch screen. And again, we're into 5 out. And like anything, like passing decisions, right? Quick passing decisions. Draws 2 people. Finds the open man. Finds the big guy in the front of the rim. Layup. I mean, outstanding passing decisions right there. Here's another little wrinkle. So we loop that guard off. Now, typically this big guy would sprint into this on ball, right? But this time he steps out. So again, creating some unpredictability and not being robotic and just doing the same things over and over. So this time he steps out, works into the reversal. That's the open on ball screen. If they didn't make a play off this on ball screen, you'd hit this big guy here and we'd be into backdoor dribble handoff. So you can see how everything ties back into getting back into that structure of different entries. So I wanted to be unpredictable with the entry, but got back into common action. Here we are again on the down screen. So it's a little bit slow to develop, but we're in stick. So the trail big guy screens away. Screens away right there. Guard to guard pass goes off the back screen. So again, unpredictability. Typically he would set the back screen and sprint into the on ball. Well, the clip I just showed before, he could step out and catch it and work into that on ball screen on the other side of the floor. This time here, he screens away. So there's the back screen with the guard coming off it. He now screens away, gets the guard down, and we get on the front of the rim. All right, so you got 3 different reads there. We're a little bit untidy getting into it, but we screen away, we loop in, and now this was a little, we used to run this play quite a bit at the end of games to just try and get a shot. We used to call this pinch. We would loop, so we'd screen away, we would loop this guard over the top, we'd go off the UCLA. Typically this defender here is kind of standing on the edge of the lane. So instead of just cutting off, he would cut off. 90% of the time the defender goes underneath that screen. And so he would just go screen away here on this one and turn into a double screen away to create an open shot for a quick hitter 3. So that's kind of the flow package. And I know there's a lot of stuff there. You don't have to run all of that. I do think you need to run the counters, away, triple, and stick. Those 3 for sure. It's okay if your guards want to run to a balanced floor, so there's guards on each side. Or if both guards run down the same side of the floor, that's okay for them to do that because you have counters built in if you can't reverse the ball. So the only read they needed to make was if the ball handler was coming down the floor and there was 2 guards in front, one of those guards had to cut through the baseline just to balance the floor out because you obviously didn't want 3 guards on the same side. So look, had a lot of success running this system. The players enjoyed running it. As you can see through the clips and the comments that you made, there's not a lot of ball handling going on. There's a lot of short ball handling, decision making going on. And a lot of it's about moving players and moving the ball with great spacing. And that's the way I wanted to teach the game.
We have a question from Ruben Terrado of spin.ph. Ruben?
Yes, good day, Coach.
Hello.
Coach, I have 2 questions. I'm just curious how were you able to get the players buy in the system, and what kind of advice would you give to the coaches, especially in the youth level, on how they will be able to get their players to buy into the system, especially those who are not used to this kind of movement and passing. And my second question is, what can you say about Philippine basketball? If you've seen it, what can you say about it?
Well, I'll answer the second one first. I know that they get phenomenal support. The Philippines love their basketball big time. They play a fast, entertaining, well-supported game. I think, and this is my personal opinion, is that when you play fast transition basketball, I think it can win you games, but I'm not convinced that playing fast transition basketball wins you championships. And if you look into the NBA, for example, the Denver Nuggets back in the day, the Houston Rockets of today, who play very fast, shoot lots of threes, I think they win a lot of games. The Phoenix Suns back in the day, they played fast and they won a lot of regular season games, but I'm not convinced that you can win championships by playing fast transition basketball. I think you need to, and this will morph into your first question, when you get to playoff basketball, it's generally a series, it's physical, it's at the end of the season where players are generally pretty tired, physically and mentally. And it becomes a bit of a war of nutrition. And I think when you can play structured, well-spaced, high basketball IQ basketball, that enables you to win championships. And like we all know, I can sit here and talk all day about offense, but if you can't guard anybody in playoff basketball, you can't win. To get your players to buy into playing this way, this is what I say to and I use this example all the time. I think Michael Jordan could run any offense ever created in the world and would still be one of the greatest players of all time. I don't think it matters what system your best players play, but those that are a little bit underskilled, if they can shoot and they can cut and make a layup, they can be very, very productive for your team. And to be successful over the course of a season, you need everybody to be in positions to be productive for you. And so I think it's your job as a coach to get your marquee players, your highly skilled players, to understand that look, I know you could run this or do that, or we could just play freelance basketball and you're going to get your 25 points a game and yeah, you'll be happy. But if you're dribbling 100 times and everybody's standing around watching you play, that's not fun for me. It's fun for your lesser skilled players to touch the ball. Every player wants to touch the ball. It's like medicine when they touch it. They don't have to score. They just want to touch the thing. And so if they're allowed to touch it and just pass it, players get excitement out of touching the ball and making a great pass to a teammate that gets a bucket. That's a positive thing. And so what I tried to get my guys to do in this system was to play that way. Scotty Wilbekin played for me. Played at Florida, plays in Europe now, is a highly, highly skilled player. And Scotty Wilbekin, when he came and played for me, Travis Trice, who played at Michigan State, I mean, I could give the ball to them every single time. They go out there and score 25 points a game, and they'd look awesome. They'd look great. Now, everybody else would be standing around watching them play, and as a team, I'm not sure that we would be successful. But the year that Scotty Wilbekin and Torrey Craig played for me in the same year, both as rookies, straight out of college, we played this offense and went to the NBL finals against the New Zealand Breakers with 2 rookie imports playing against 2 extremely experienced imports. But we were able to play a phenomenal team game. And just getting back to your question, Ruben, is to educate your higher skilled players that you do need your lesser skilled players for the team to ultimately be successful. And I would suspect that you, as a highly skilled player, want team success, because if you're in it for yourself, then go play some individual game like golf or something, because this is a team game. So it takes a bit of coaching to get them to move the ball and move each other. But when you can develop that team chemistry and team culture of having success together, I don't think there's any greater reward in team sport that when you accomplish things together. And that's obviously the challenge as coaches, right? Is to get everybody bought in, which is very, very difficult. But when you do that, it's an unbelievable life experience, and an experience that I know I've been part of with great teams that you remember forever, because you've been able to accomplish things together.
Ruben, thank you for the question. You have a follow-up, Teddy? Okay.
I have a follow-up question, Coach Aaron. With your many years of experience coaching basketball, could you give us 5 qualities that a basketball coach should possess in order to be successful?
You've got to continue to upskill yourself, doing what you're doing now, listening to coaches that have failed and succeed, because that's what we do. So learning to educate, upskill your basketball IQ. 2, I think it's important to experiment, but put some research into that. Try different things, try different zone defenses, try different presses, find some skill development stuff that you find is productive. So try different skill work stuff. So I think it's important to experiment. You need to be prepared. You need to be very prepared in how you plan your practice sessions, how you plan your game scouts. Are you prepared to explain your system? When you get to the level that I've coached, if you try and, excuse the language, bullshit your way through coaching, your players, your very smart players,
Nice.
they figure that out. And you're done if they figure you out that you're full of it. So be very well prepared in what you teach. I think 4, be very good at evaluating your practice sessions, evaluating your games. As I said earlier, I have failed and had success many, many times. And you learn from the journey. You learn from not succeeding. You also learn from having success, because this worked well. And I guess the last thing for me would be do a good job of keeping notes, like keeping a little journal of stuff that has worked well for you and has not worked for you. Because, and I do this now, like 3 years from now, there might be a set or an action or something that we've had to defend. and man, we didn't defend that very well, or we did defend that very well. And so 3 years from now, I might not remember it off the top of my head, but if I go back to my note taking, I'm like, oh yeah, that's how we guarded that action. It was really, really successful. And I think it's really, really important to do that stuff.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I'm guilty of that. There's a question from Rick Barry. So yeah, with this past month, it's been we've been at home. What have you done in the past month to improve yourself?
Doing exactly this.
Yeah.
There's so many, webinars going on with coaches talking about concepts and little plays and about team culture, and it's been a phenomenal period to be able to learn a lot of that different stuff. It's obviously, and another thing, it's been great to be able to go back and reflect on our season and study our game tape. What are some stuff that we've done really well? What are some stuff we have not done very well? How can we be a little bit more unpredictable? How can we try something different? Can we experiment with something different next year? I think it's been important for us as a coaching staff here at Charlotte to critique each other. Here are some things that we need to do better. Individually, here are some things that we need to do better as a staff. Here are some things that I think I've done really well. Do you think I have? I think it's important to have that dialogue with the other coaches because we want to be better as a staff. We want to be better as a coaching team. So, yeah, look, I think it's been obviously a horrible time around the world to be quarantined like we all are right now. But, obviously in our field of work, it's obviously been a great opportunity to upskill. And I recently just released a video that's just gone on the market on tagging up. It's an offensive rebounding philosophy and defensive philosophy that I did with the Cains Taipans. That's a little bit different and new. And that went out with Basketball Immersions and Chris Oliver. So that's just gone online. So we've just put that out on the market. So put a lot of work into getting that organized. So that's been really successful so far. So yeah, just trying to educate coaches and educate myself. So that's what I've been doing with my time.
Excellent, Coach. To wrap things up, I know Teddy's got the last question. Teddy?
Coach has already answered it.
All right.
Thanks, Coach Aaron.
No problem. Appreciate it.
So again, Coach, I know we can talk all day, and but thank you to all the attendees for staying up. We gone overtime a bit, but it's been an unbelievable day of learning. And is it possible to get a copy of the breakdown tape that you had? And they've been asking for a copy, so maybe you can.
Sure, I'll email that to you, and then you can disperse that how you would like to do that. Yes,
and to recap also that. Basketball Immersion, you should follow that, and where the new video of Coach Aaron Fearne is. So I follow Basketball Immersion. It's a great. They will email you also links or basketball references that can really help you as a coach. And again, any parting words, Coach Aaron?
Well, I mean, firstly, make sure everybody stays safe and stays healthy. As we've said numerous times, it's an interesting time around the world right now, but, use your time productive, stay in shape, stay in physical shape. It's pretty easy right now just to lie on a couch and watch TV all day, to be honest. But, you know, getting some physical activity is important. Then obviously getting some mental activity is really important too, you know, upskilling yourself. But also I think it's important to spend some time with your family. It's probably been a bit of a positive thing for me. You know, I've got 2 teenage kids, and in this coaching world, you're pretty busy, and it's, you know, definitely been a very positive time to spend a lot of time with your family, and because we're all very busy in this working world. So, you know, I think it's important to cherish your time with your family right now. But yeah, look, I thank everybody for coming along. I hope that you learned some things, and I'll get that video out, and you guys can study it some more. And you know, you can put my email on there if people want to email me some questions about some things. And I wish everybody the best.
Your college program, do they allow visitors to come and visit, watch practices?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Okay. We have questions all the time. We would welcome anybody to come to Charlotte, North Carolina, and check out our program and check out our beautiful university, and see how we do things here, and how we develop our players. We spend a lot of time in skill development, but what you saw here in this presentation is typically how we try and play as well here. A lot of ball movement, a lot of player movement. We want to play a team basketball game and not play 100 miles an hour and just play transition basketball. We play very patient when we need to, but we'll get out and transition when we can. But yeah, would love to have some visitors from the Philippines for sure.
Yeah, it will improve the Philippines-Australian relations. It's just a joke. We're all right now.
We don't need to talk about that incident at all.
It's been a fun night, and Coach, a lot of learning, and we thank you so much. There's some good news that we're going to continue with our webinars for next week. We're going to have another session on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And we got a ton of good coaches lined up. One of them is our winningest coach from the Philippines, Tim Cone. We'll have a presentation. And of course, John Chico is our head of our Samahan Basketball Pilipinas Coaches Commission. And we'll have the Czech Republic coach, Nino Gisberg. So he had a good run. He had a great run at FIBA Worlds, and he's unbelievable mind also. And we'll have Slovenia coach Radovan Trifonovic also, who was with Slovenia as an assistant coach with Igor Kokoshkov, and then was elevated to head coach. So he was able to coach when they won the Euro Championship, and another great mind. So stay tuned for that. We'll also have Filipino American Hernando Planels, so we'll be presenting, and so we'll have the links for you soon. And again, good night. Salute to all the frontliners. Again, Blackwater Leads got a fundraising for the frontliners. Do visit our Facebook, our Twitter accounts, and for the ways on how you can help, especially our beloved frontliners. Any parting words, Teddy?
You did a great job, Coach, setting this up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Coach Aaron.
No problem.
Aaron, thank you.
Great night. See ya.
Good night. Good night. So everyone, again, thank you for another unbelievable night, and stay tuned for further announcement. I'd like to thank, of course, Blackwater Elite, Hoop Coaches International, of course, to Coach Louis Gonzalez of the Basketball Coaches Association of the Philippines. Thank you so much for sharing to the coaches. Thank you so much to Jong Chico for sharing to the Basketball Commission, to Gut Skills coach Alan Ricardo, and to Chris Juliano, who did the voiceover, but I wasn't able to play it yet because I'm still learning how this system works. But Chris is a nurse and a barker of the MPBL. So Chris, shout out to you for doing a great job. Again, thank you, Teddy, for joining me again. And then we expect you to be back again to spin that PH to tiebreaker to Philippine Star. Of course, Kinito, thank you for writing it up, and thank you to all the coaches that will be presenting next time. We have an Argentinian coach, a Mexican coach, and also we got a lot in store. We got a lot of lineup, great lineup. Sorry to not mention them, but I will be able to confirm. We got the Wednesday lineup confirmed, and we'll post up the links as soon as we get it done. Again, stay safe, everyone, and happy weekend. Or oh, it's Monday, so every day is a weekend. But again, if you want to get in touch with Teddy and do some consultation, he's more than willing to be
Happy to help.
Happy to help. All right. Good night or good morning to everyone, and see you Wednesday. Thank you.